representatives of the Commission on Human Rights that this is indeed a typo error, there's something wrong with us, Mr. President. We should all go to mental hospital, Mr. President. If this is a typo, Mr. President, with regards to activities, programs of specialized centers of the Commission. Mr. President, I have here with me the centers that have no activities, or I mean programs of the Commission, Mr. President. 2023, if we can show it on the screen, 2023. Pakita po natin yung 2023 na programa ng Commission on Human Rights. Tinignan ko po yung 2024, Mr. President. Pwede nyo hong tignan at hindi po kayo nagkakamali. Pareho po yung 2023 at 2024 na Program 1. Next slide, please. Sa monitoring and reporting program on economic, social, and cultural rights, hindi din po kayo nagkakamali. Pareho din po ang programa nila ng 2023 at 2024. Next slide, please. Child Rights Center. Pareho din po ang programa ng 2023 at 2024. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Center for Gender Equality and Women's Human Rights. Pareho pa rin, Mr. President. Pareho pa din po yung programs nila. Next slide, please. Pareho pa rin, Mr. President. 2023, 2024. Balikan ko po yung Center for Gender Equality and Women's Human Rights, Mr. President. And I'd like the sponsor to look at the FGD with migrant workers and duty bearers in selected regions and CR 4A, 3, and 6 of 2023. Yan po. Pagdating po ng 2024, pareho pa rin, Mr. President. Sa writing of technical report, nakalagay po dun sa 2023, ayan po, dulo, baba, nakalagay po ongoing, second semester. Pagdating po ng 2024, ongoing pa rin, writing of technical report. Validation, November 2023, pagdating ng 2024, validation pa rin, Mr. President. So I'd like to ask the distinguished sponsor, if the Commission on Human Rights have the same programs, 2023, 2024, and perhaps ask his comment, Mr. President, with regard to these programs. Baka ho akala nila hindi tayo nagbabasa dito. Baka akala nila hindi nagtatrabaho ang Senado. Baka akala nila at this time, 3 o'clock in the morning, inaantok na tayo at tamad na tayong magbasa.
Mr. President, if I may, with the indulgence of the majority leader, if I may ask for a hard copy so we can review it, because we do not have any copy of those tables. Mr. President.
We would love to give the commission a copy of this table, but perhaps the resource persons behind our sponsor would be able to give the sponsor at least
One by one.
a statement. Perhaps I will no longer dwell on the first few slides, Mr. President. Just this particular slide, Mr. President. The FGD with migrant workers and duty bearers. Mr. President, the same. Sabi doon, ongoing ng second semester yung technical report. Pagdating ng 2024, wala na. Still the same. You're validating November 2023, 2024. Validation stage pa rin po.
Actually,
And Mr. President, before this good sponsor answer my query, Mr. President, these documents were submitted by the Commission on Human Rights. During the deliberation of the budget in the committee level, I asked for these documents. And so let me state for the record that these documents were submitted by the Human Rights Commission, Mr. President.
Mr. President, can I ask for a minute suspension for me to consult with the,
Session suspended.
upon consultation with the staff of the commission, well, according to them, the program for 2024, which you just read, Mr. President, is a typo error. I don't know. I do not know if you want to believe them or not, but they gave me a program for 2024, Mr. President. And if, with your permission, if I can read it.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. President. I thought I'm having a dream, a nightmare to be more precise, Mr. President. This is a typo error? How could this be a typo error, Mr. President? If you look at this particular slide that I'm showing you right now, Mr. President, the last three items, the FGD with migrant workers and duty bearers. If you look at 2023 to 2024, there is a great amount of effort, if you call it, Mr. President, great amount of effort to edit the regions and delete the regions. Now, in writing the technical report, in editing the ongoing writing of technical report for the second semester. Now, for the validation, November 2023, I mean, no man, Mr. President, no man on his right mind would ever think that this entire programs given to this representation, given to the Senate of the Republic of the Philippines is a typo error, Mr. President. That's unacceptable, Mr. President. If the distinguished sponsor will agree with the representatives of the Commission on Human Rights that this is indeed a typo error, there's something wrong with us, Mr. President. We should all go to mental hospital, Mr. President, if this is a typo error.
Mr. President, if I may.
Please.
Well, I also do not agree with what the staff of the commission had mentioned earlier. That,
May I be allowed, Mr. President, just to ask?
But
Is it really the explanation given to
Yes,
the distinguished sponsor?
yes, Mr. President.
Wow. Wow.
And I will just, the program of in 2024 is quite long, Mr. President. If you want me to read it aloud, I can, but if you want me to just submit the programs for 2024, it is up to you, Mr. President.
It's okay, Mr. President. We will just
Because
make the submission of the 2024 programs, Mr. President.
According
It's just that-
according to the chairman, Mr. President, he himself does not know why there was a redundancy of the programs of 2024 as compared to 2023.
And who is in charge from the commission who sent these documents to this representation, to the office of this representation? No one is checking? Perhaps they don't realize that we in the Senate actually read documents, voluminous documents, work until 3:18 in the morning? Mr. President, I'm on my first question, Mr. President. And you could just imagine my disappointment, Mr. President, from this Commission on Human Rights. But I am willing to go on, Mr. President, and ask another question, Mr. President, if I may, distinguished colleague. Mr. President, last week, we asked the Commission regarding the stand of the Commission on Abortion after we uncovered that one of CHR's priority programs is the decriminalization of abortion. Also, last week, Mr. President, we received a letter from the Commission expressing its anti-abortion stand. I was given a copy, Mr. President, that is against abortion. What does that mean, Mr. President? Does it mean that it is already abandoning its support on the decriminalization of abortion?